Hey guys, King of Charmander's here. Today I'll be your judge, jury, and analyst. So, the Great League rankings are the Great League, not the rankings, the top. Why do I keep jacking this up? Anyways, the Great League top performers were updated today thanks to pvpoke.com. If you'd like to do so, please contribute to pvpoke.com. All you have to do is go to this website down here and, click down here, okay? Anyways, as you see, your top performers did get updated today. So, because it's bright and early, I have nothing to do this morning, I decided to, well, after my battles and yeah, it went pretty well. Anyways, this was updated today, and this is the video for the top 5 ABB teams on Great League Part 5. So, this is ABB. Again, ABB teams have two ABB teams usually do one of two things. One, they target a particular mon, or two, you have some sort of a draw strategy, or three, you have a particular strategy. So, it's not two, it's actually three. Anyways, these teams are very powerful. They have been standing for a long time just because not only is it a popper gimmick, but it actually works. So, without further ado, let's get started. And for team number 5, so for Ferg's team, for those of you using it, which happens to be the Hypno Scrafty Umbreon team, it still works really, really well. Well, it's kind of interesting because in Part 4, this team actually took off. I'm not sure which variation was, I forgot which variation was basically the number 4 team. So it went from like being being up to down to being up again and then down. So for part 5, it's kind of been it's still good because it's still positive. The rating is still 512, so that means it's still well. It'll still get you wins, but it's definitely, as far as effectiveness comes, has taken a little bit of a nosedive. Actually, a big nosedive, but it's the fact that it's still positive since the beginning of Great League means this team's still really, really good. So if you're using it, it'll work well for you. This variation is using the Ice Punch Thunder Punch variation, so it looks like Ice Punch for Altaria, Thunder Punch, of course, for the Water Archetype. Now, keep in mind, a Hypno, or rather, a Shadow Hypno with Fire Punch can beat G-Fist. This one cannot. So with Ice Punch and Thunder Punch, just keep in mind you don't beat G-Fist. However, this team is still incredibly powerful. As you see here, great bulk, amazing bulk, amazing consistency, good safety, not too much coverage. Ice Punch and Thunder Punch are interesting. I'm guessing it works right now just because of the way the meta is shaped out, but it's still really, really good. Again, this team has been standing for a long time. The general basis of the team is if you lose the lead, safe switch an Umbreon. Umbreon is so bulky and thick that it could take the chip damage, and then you could swap out or possibly just let Umbreon go. Farm down with Scrafty, do something fancy with Hypno. It's really up to you. Anyways, like I mentioned before, with a Ice Punch, Thunder Punch Hypno, the key thing here is that you don't beat G-Fist, so keep that in mind. G-Fist can be beat, but that's a Shadow Hypno with Fire Punch, so keep that in mind. You also lose against a ton of leads, but not a ton of leads, to be honest. If you're used to using Hypno, or if you're used to using this team, you know how to play around it, so I don't need to tell you. But Hypno's really good just because Hypno's variety. Hypno also keeps you guessing, so 9 times out of 10 your opponent will shield the first time just because they're like, I don't want to eat damage, particularly if you do go against things like Altaria. However, Hypno is bulky. Hypno does have variety, and again, it does put shield pressure on your opponent because if your opponent has something like an Altaria, or if it has like a Pelipper, you're like, your Pelipper don't want to take Thunder Punch to the face, so yeah. It is very powerful, good coverage, and confusion chunks. So it's still very, very good. As you see, you still wipe out Azu, so you'll wipe out the Water Archetype. You also take out the Flying Archetype in Altaria, and you can also take out Skarmory. As you see here, this team is very, very powerful. However, there are things that core break you, as in Charmers. Double Hypno, double Charm. I mean, no, not Hypno. Obstagoon, double Charm. That team is literally designed to counter this team. So that's why you have to see Obstagoon Double Charm. Whoever popularized that team, it's solely to catch this team right here. And it works, because if you catch that team, it's basically an auto loss. It's basically an auto loss. But as you see here, there are things that completely core break this team, as in Garvantula. Things like Registeel also can core break you as well. Got Ludicolo. Ludicolo with Leaf Storm is incredibly powerful, and it does happen to actually core break this team in the one shield. Ironically, Scrafty in the lead also gives this team a hard time, because Scrafty can beat itself, and it can beat Hypno and Umbreon, so just keep that in mind. Other than that, this team, but other than those patterns, like the Charmer pattern, or like I mentioned, the Fighter, the Scrafty and Lead, or whatever incorporates it, it's still very powerful because you're not gonna, like, the odds of you seeing, like, everything here consistently aren't too much. Like, there's not a lot of popular leads you see here in the front, and there are ways you can play out of losing leads, of course. But this team has been standing for a long time. Credits to my buddy Ferdy for essentially using this team for like making it to legend with this team consistently, and it is still very, very powerful. Again, a 512 rating, so it's not as powerful statistically as it was before, but it still can get you wins and can still get you W's and possibly take you to legend in Season 7 of Great League Part 5. Alright, team number 4 is Venusaur Double Steel. Oh my lord. I'm sorry, I just hate that. Like, I swear, in 7 Hells, if you watch GOT Game of Thrones, you are an amazing person. I love that show. And in the 7 Hells, I will never use a Bastion to make rank 10. Ever. Never, ever, 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 ever. From the 7 Hells to the heavens, I shall never use it. Anyways, as you see here, this is Venusaur Double Steel. The Double Steel variation is still very powerful. As you see here, this team still ranks very high. The Venusaur Double Steel team does rank at a 517, so it's not too far from the Hypno Double Dark team, actually. But it's still very, very powerful. Still really, really good. As you see here, it features a Shadow Venusaur in the lead. So if you don't have a Shadow Venusaur, it also has Frenzy Plant. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to get a Shadow Venusaur Frenzy Plant. If you don't have one yet, then you don't really need to use it. There are better ABB teams out here. But if you're using this particular one, this particular variation, it is really, really good. Because of Bastion and because of G-Fisk, you have a ton of bulk and consistency. This team isn't very safe when you have Double Steel in the back. You know, all it takes is one fighter and you're basically crying for help. As you see here, this team also doesn't have a ton of coverage. However, because of the sheer amount of damage this trio does, it is very, very powerful. Bastion can beat things down shields like Altaria, and it can even beat things like Pelipper, etc. down shield just because it's so godforsakenly bulky. But again, the reason why the back row is very dangerous is for 2 reasons. The reason when you have Venusaur in the lead is to catch the Water Archetype or the Fighter Archetype. You want the Fighter in the lead. However, if they're rocking something like Triple Fighter, or if they're rocking like Double Fighter in the back or something of that sort, you're kind of screwed. However, if you can catch that lead, as you see, G-Fisk and Bastion are incredibly powerful. In this team, G-Fisk is your safe switch, and then Bastion can close out, or you use Venusaur. Again, Bastion can take out teams with down shields just because of how powerful it is and how bulky it is. Again, I will never use it, but if you do use it, there's a reason why, and it's because it's that freaking good. As you see here, this team, if you've seen this core before, that's because it's really good, and the bulk of your weaknesses are, of course, going to be fighters, as you see here. Fighters will give you a hard time, particularly Excavalier. You probably won't see a lot of that in Open Great League, but if you do, it kind of sucks because you just got really bad luck. Anyways, as you see here, again, the core breaker on the back is fighters as well as Mudboys. Things like Politoed, things like Mudboys. So Politoed in the back, as well as things like Politoed, Swampert, and Wishcash are going to give you a hard time back, as well as fighters. So, again, the reason why Venusaur is in the lead, to catch the water type in the lead, and then you can clean up with G-Fisk and Bastion. If they have a flyer in the back, it's pretty much an auto win for you, as long as you align everything correctly, and as long as their closer is not a fighter, and you lose Venusaur. So just keep that in mind. Very good team, very high threat score, but again, still very powerful statistically for Season 7 Great League Part 5. So if you guys like big flaming fire chickens, guess what? This team is for you because Lord Talonflame is still really good for Season 7, Part 5 of Great League. As you see here, this is Talonflame Double Water. I mean, technically it's Double Mudboy if you count Politoed as a Mudboy, because Politoed doesn't have ground, but it has Mud Shots, so it's really up to your discretion on whether or not you decide. Anyways, you can argue in the comments. As you see here, Talonflame Double Water with Politoed and Swampert. This is actually a really good team just because this basically erases the Venusaur Double. Remember the team I mentioned before? Yeah, this team beats that pretty handily. So the Venusaur Double Steel team is pretty much annihilated by this team. So as you see here, not a lot of coverage, not a lot of bulk. It is safe and consistent, however. You can, so Politoed, you could use Blizzard 2, Politoed Safe Switch, and Swampert Safe Switch are actually pretty good as long as you're able to avoid grass typings in the back, and it's really, really powerful. As you see here, this team does really, really well against a lot of patterns, also along against a lot of ABB patterns as well. So this team is very, very strong. Talonflame in the lead can break shields, so you could, and burb and then dip. So you could chip and dip with Talonflame, burb your opponent to oblivion, and then switch out. If they do not shield it, it's unfortunate for them. If they do shield it, it's still a good advantage for you over here. This team has a ton of pressure. Again, this team is basically designed to destroy Bastiodon and G-Fisk in the back, as you see here. You lose the lead, safe switch into either Politoed or Swampert, and then you clean out G-Fisk with said Bud Boys, etc. But Bastion also dies to this combination as well. But this, like I said, this team is basically designed to catch the Venusaur double steel team. But overall, it's still really, really good. Now, the core breakers for this team, remember I mentioned grass types in the back. It's why things, well, actually, grass types aren't even your worst nightmare. So, grass types can be a nightmare in the back for you. However, things that do resist Mudshot and Weather Ball are pretty common, as in Pelipper. So, Pelipper, as you see here, pretty much core breaks this entire team. Yes, you can kill Pelipper. However, Politoed and Swampert, if you're like, you can Sludge Wave it with Swampert, or you can Blizzard it with Politoed. So you can have options here. If you like Blizzard Politoed, it does really well. If you like a Sludge Wave, Swampert can still take out Pelipper. However, other than that, your Mudshots are resisted by Pelipper. So flying types can be your worst nightmare. Talonflame is still a great lead, even if you see something like an Altaria, just because you can burb it and then dip out. Because if Altaria eats a Prey Bird, it does big damage, so it still hurts a lot. Or if you're running Blizzard on Politoed, which I think this one's running Earthquake. Yeah, this one's running Earthquake. If you're running Blizzard on Politoed, you'll one-shot an Altaria. So you have options with this team. Very high threat score, but again, your biggest threats are going to be probably the Grass archetype in the back. As in the... Actually, the G-Fisk... The G-Fisk, Pelipper, and Venusaur team kind of give you a really hard time, actually. So the most common line can give you a hard time with this team, but it still does really well, and it is the third most powerful ABB team in the Great League Season 7 Part 5. I'm taking a look back at its rating, and its rating is not that great. It's statistically better than Venusaur Double Steel or the Hypno Double Dart team, but if you're not used to like spamminess and you don't like grass Pokemon, because this team really hates grass Pokemon, or Pelipper, then this team is not for you. Alright, for the second most powerful ABB team, which ranks at 528, is the Double Steel team with, so instead of using Venusaur in the lead, you're using a Roserade. Just because it has Leaf Storm, and Roserade is actually pretty good with Leaf Storm. Leaf Storm will KO an entire Jellicent if it hits. You know how I know? Because I got hit by one before, and it sucks. So as you see here, this is a Roserade with Leaf Storm basically operates like Talonflame. So it basically operates like a Talonflame. You chip and dip, except instead of losing defense, you lose attack. As you see here, this takes the Bastiodon Stunfisk or Double Steel and just puts a Roserade in front, and it actually does pretty good at a 528 rating. So this ABB team actually has better safety. Actually, I don't think I think it's like literally exactly the same. You know, when you have Double Steel in the back, it's going to have high bulk and consistency anyway. The thing is, though, it only has good safety and good coverage. Just because anything with Double Steel, of course, remember like I mentioned before, you're gonna get, if you get the Mud Boy in the back or if you get a Fire in the back, you're kind of screwed. Anyways, as you see here, this team is very, very powerful. Roserade is very powerful in the lead pattern just because of Leaf Storm. It threatens a lot. Remember what I mentioned about Jellicent getting you to the next dimension? Just because mine has as well by a lot of things. But as you see here, this team is this team is still really powerful. Of course, the Bastion G-Fisk core works a lot, mainly just because you could catch the flyer in the back, and Bastion and G-Fisk are nightmares. Remember what I told you, if they have a flyer on their team and you have Bastion can beat the flyer down shield. So it's very, very strong and very, very good for Go Battle League. As you see here, this team does have a lot of core breakers to it, particularly Deoxys defense. Psycho Boost can give you somewhat of a problem. However, you can Roserade dip with it. Meganium also gives you something of an issue just because it is bulky. However, you do double resist Frenzy Plant, so unless it hits you with an Earthquake, I think you're okay in the 2-shield. You also threaten Venusaur a lot, so Venusaur will lose against Roserade just because it takes heavy damage from Weather Ball. So Bullet Sleep Blush Fire Weather Ball makes it very, very strong. It's essentially Churm 2.0 without Solar Beam. My baby. Anyways, as you see here, this team does really, really good. I still think it performs really, really well just because of the ability, just because Fire Weather Ball plus Roserade's damage. Roserade also has a very high attack, so because of that, you are likely going to win CMP against a lot of combos. It still does really, really well, and with that poison typing, you also resist Charmers as well as Fighters. So Roserade is a fantastic lead. Couple it with the strongest and most annoying back row of all time in Bastiodon in Stunfisk, just because as a Bastiodon, yes, I hate it. I hate Bastiodon, so you openly know this. If you use it, I don't hate you, it's just, you know, I hate that thing, so I hate its existence. If you're using it, good on you. However, I will never use Bastiodon. It does have a high threat score, however, again, your core breaker in the back is going to be a fighter or a mud boy, water types, and of course, fighters. So, Pelipper is not so much of a threat because Pelipper can get beat down by Bastiodon down shields just because you need to weather ball it to death, and it can take a lot of weather balls. Other than that, it's very, very powerful and still really good for Season 7 for Part 5 of Great League. And the most powerful ABB team, if you've already seen this team because of the past videos I put out, just because it is team number 4. It is part of the top 5 teams, so this ABB team is actually extremely powerful. It ranks at number 4, and it is at a 557 rating, so it literally blows every other one of the list out of the water here, and by literally about, I would say 30 points, which is pretty high. But for an ABB team of something of this uniqueness, because this thing actually has a Superior in it and a Regirock. Again, if you've seen this team from my top 5 teams video, it is the most powerful ABB team, and you probably don't have to be this, so you can scroll to the outro, or I appreciate you for watching the video. Anyways, if you are here to listen to why this team works again, and it's really unique, is because it has a Regirock. Regirock, Superior, Venusaur. So this team overall, not good bulk and safety. A great cover, great consistency, just because Frenzy Plant does a ton of damage, so Frenzy Plant will hit really, really hard against a lot of things. Community moves are overpowered. Superior and Venusaur are 2 super powerful Pokemon. One is tanky, the other one is also tanky if it resists Charm or Fighters. But it doesn't have a lot of coverage, so just keep that in mind. As you see here, this team does really well. This team does really well against the current meta. Minus the fact that you see Registeel, but you don't see a lot of Registeels now. You can see Registeel, but not a lot nowadays. But as you see, that back row murders a lot of patterns. As you see here, Superior and Venusaur actually do really well against a lot of back rows. So if you lose the lead against Regirock, you can either 1 break shield or 2. As you switch out and break, you pretty much just annihilate. The reason why this team has great consistency is because both of them have Frenzy Plant, and Regirock can Stone Edge / Focus Blast things to death. Stone Edge is really good just because with Stone Edge you can effectively just annihilate basically all the flyers. And with Focus Blast, of course, you basically destroy Bastiodon, so you can just straight Focus Blast against Bastiodon. Along with that, Focus Blast and Fighting type has wide range coverage, so you can do a lot of things. As you see here, this ABB team, the Bees are very powerful. There's not a lot of core breakers in the back. There are some, but not a lot in the back, as you see here. Now, this team is very, very powerful. It's not your common threats you see here outside of Registeel and probably Toxicroak. You aren't going to see the rest of them a lot. So, because of that, this team does very, very well. I can see why it reached number 4 because, like I said, a lot of these core breakers you see here, you don't see a lot of them outside of probably 2 of them, which is Registeel and Toxicroak. Other than that, you're not going to see a lot of Fortresses, Berserkers, Excavaliers, etc. In other words, this team is really freaking good. So, again, this team is very, very powerful. You could also get really fancy with it because you can try to break shields with Regirock or Force Shield and then switch out. Going to Superior, I'm assuming Superior is your safe switch for this team, as it is bulkier than Venusaur. It also has Aerial Ace, the most terrible move in the flying type archetype in the game, but I'm not gonna go into that because yeah. But anyways, it's still very powerful. Again, I think Superior or Venusaur is your safe switch. Just switch accordingly. But either way, it pretty much works the same. You can break shields with Regirock, you can break a shield with Regirock, then switch out, or you could just win the lead at straight outright with Regirock, and Superior and Venusaur both can go to town with Frenzy Plant. Not a lot of things in this meta resist Frenzy Plant, like full out resist Frenzy Plant, unless it's like Altaria or Skarmory. So the flyer in the back, you really hate. But other than the flyer in the back, that's not even your biggest threat, because if you see the flyers, your flyers hate Regirock, so yeah, it's very, very, that's what makes this team really, really good. And that's why the flyers are pushed down. As you see, flyers are actually pushed down to your bottom of potential threats, just because you have Regirock on your team. Venusaur can also take out Altaria with Sludge Bomb, and I started a bit when it came to Aerial Ace, because it's going to take a lot of Aerial Aces before you can take down an Altaria. But you know what? It's still very powerful. This team is statistically the most powerful ABB team, even though it has a high threat score. Again, a lot of its combinations aren't very popular, so this team can do very, very well in Season 7, as statistically it is the most powerful ABB team in Great League Season 7, Part 5. Alright, that's it guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, it looks like for the ABB teams, summarizing it, it looks like Hypno Double Dark is still really good. The Double Steel type archetype is still really good in the back as well. As you see, you put it like, you see the Venusaur one still works really well. The one that was featured in this video used the Shadow one though, but also Roserade with Leaf Storm is also pretty powerful as well. So if you like that combination, it's up to you. A really unique and I would say spicy ABB combination made it to the top of the promised line this time around. But previous ABB combinations you used before seem to work very well. For example, if you're using the Hypno Double Dark team, again, it still works really well. And the Double Steel archetype for Part 5 of Season 7, Great League seems to be working well as well. So again, hopefully you guys are doing well in your Go Valley sets. Hopefully, if you like ABB teams and you haven't found one to use yet for this season, hopefully this video does help you out. Please like and subscribe. This video did drop today, or this data did drop today, and I will create videos as soon as possible when data drops. So if you want to see the earliest and the latest and greatest top teams and data, please like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys are doing well in your Go Battle League sets. I haven't been doing great lately because my game's been lagging, or rock, paper, scissors. Even if I'm trying my best. So, but anyways, do your best. Hopefully, if I'm not getting good luck on my Go Battle League sets, hopefully my videos are helping you reach Legend. So if you are making it, I'm super happy for you. I really am. And hopefully my videos do help you out. Again, good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.